the shoot was really grueling.
Yeah.
I don't imagine how it couldn't be.
No, definitely. But what was more, grueling in a way was the research. And, obviously we knew the story at the time. But getting into the details of all these people that suffered, and there's a lot of footage available, a lot of images available that, or unavailable, but they managed to get hold of. Very, very disturbing. And then learning about it in great detail from Maria, whose story
the character
is told. Yeah, exactly. And she was incredibly expressive about every scene, and she's kind of a writer herself, and she was, a lot of people when they go through this kind of disaster are not, it's not easy for them to talk about it, but that wasn't the case with her. She was just full of information. So
how strongly is your character based on her?
Completely. I mean, I don't have to walk and talk like her, which is, great. So, I've played real people.
It's not like
before.
A public figure.
Yeah, exactly.
With Princess Diana, where
nothing
you
like that. No. Or even Valerie Plame, who's known, but really only in America. It wasn't about that. I mean, obviously we were speaking in English. She speaks in Spanish, although she speaks English very well. It was just capturing the essence of her and what she went through.
So the story is very close.
Completely. I mean, she was involved in the script writing.
And her...
Which is why, by the way, I think I got into the story so easily, because when the idea was introduced to me to be in a tsunami movie, it didn't
get you right away.
Didn't get me right away. I mean, it just... You think, oh, disaster movies, how, is that just going to be running and screaming or swimming and screaming? But when I read the script, it was clear. It just felt it was rooted in truth, and at the heart of it was this very intimate story about a family.
That definitely comes across. I think I went in not kind of expecting the first scenario that you described, and left feeling like I didn't know that was going to be such an emotional journey where I felt so much.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, and that was a really nice surprise. With your leg, how did they do that?
Prosthetic.
Yeah. What was that process like? Like, you show up to set, and what did they have to do to your...
Well, I had to do a full body molding.
Okay.
They did the leg and the boob, but it wasn't every day. It was only when necessary, because it takes a long time to apply that. So it was only when we knew we were going to shoot scenes like that, or it was going to show. And sometimes, after she'd put the bandage on, we could cheat it.
And there's plenty of scenes where you don't see your legs.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, in fact, you really only see it that one time.
So the scene where you're in the water with your son, where did you shoot that?
In Spain, in Alicante, they have this water tank, which is allegedly the second largest in the world. And we basically spent a month in there.
Swimming.
Trying to swim, yeah.
You must have felt exhausted at the end of it.
Completely. Tom loved it, but, he's like an acrobat and 14, and it's like an amusement park.
Yay!
Yeah, not so much for me. It was, but it was very mechanically worked out. They had us strapped into these giant pots, and we could let ourselves out at any time, although you wouldn't want to, because you'd get swept up in a current, because you had pressure coming this way, pressure coming against you, and then from the sides as well, and then all the garbage being thrown in. And, so it was definitely, I mean, as difficult as it was, I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way. I mean, you could have done it on a green screen, floating around, gasping.
But you must have felt more like you were actually in it.
Yeah. I mean, nothing close to the level of what they went through, but definitely the intensity was increased and really helped the performance, rather than having to recreate that on a green screen.
And the bond that shows on screen with your son is incredible. He's amazing.
He's extraordinary.
Was he great to work with?
Unbelievable. I mean, a kid that just is so seriously committed to being an actor. I mean, he'd been through the Billy Elliot thing. He was on stage for, I think, a year or so, and I think he just really was sure that that was what he loved and wanted to do. And he got this role, and he just went for it. And he was so focused and so willing and to be stretched and pulled. And I kept saying, "Oh, save yourself," and don't burn out. But then you realize 14-year-olds don't burn out.
They have plenty of energy.
Yeah. And he was learning on the job, but I have to say, watching him work, I felt like I had things to learn from him. He was wonderful.
You guys had a great chemistry going on.
I mean, thanks to the way it was written, which again came from the truth, but also Juan Antonio, the director, created such a great environment. So we had a great rehearsal period that was set up so that we could trust each other.
So how long was that, the period before?
It was about a month.
And you were researching and rehearsing at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. And in the rehearsal period, we did all kinds of crazy, goofy things mixed with intense, serious things as well.
Well, to bond.
Create a family history in 6 minutes. And, they could not have been more intimate to the point where it was, I'm your mother, you're my son, now let's switch roles, and feel okay about that. Something a mother never wants to have to put their son through.
As a mother, I'm sure you related to this character in a really close
Well, I think both
way.
Ewan and I mean, I've played parents before where I haven't had kids, and definitely there's an increased intensity. Yeah. I mean, every day I fear something little or nothing to that level, but
this
big
is the
fear.
Extreme.
Yeah.
This represents probably every fear you've ever had.
Yeah, I'm always worried about the safety of my children. So yeah, I think it was that part for Ewan and I, and also in the setting up of the family dynamic. That Christmas morning, how you talk to kids. Sometimes you're irritable, sometimes you're...
I love that part, the early morning where it was handheld.
Yeah, and that was all improvised, by the way.
It feels that way. That's probably why I liked it so much.
Yeah, it was, and they wrapped up the gifts, and nobody knew what they were getting, and Ewan was holding the camera, and they were filming it with the other camera too, and it was great. It felt real because it was a sort of...
So let's switch to talk about Diana, which... You finished now?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't finished it. We should be finished, but we've got delayed because the lead actor broke his Achilles tendon. Oh. So we had to stop. Yeah, I know.
How's it going? Up until that point?
Oh, it's all going well. It's going to be hard to go back to, I have to say.
Well, you've had to break.
When you break character, I think anyway, that's difficult, but when it's one that's such, that everyone knows.
So what is that like? What was the preparations for that like compared to this?
Extreme research, like unbelievable amount of reading. I
can only imagine what that felt like once you accepted it and then like really dove in.
Yeah, I mean, lots of trepidation, lots of anxiety, but great story to tell that had to be told. This story. Fascinating woman who did and achieved lots of brilliant things, but and sensitive because her boys, who are now men, are there still, and but it was a great script, and it's focusing on the last 2 years of her life, which was really centering around the love story between her and the Pakistani heart surgeon.
So how much have you shot? Is it halfway?
So pretty much, I mean, I've just got 2 weeks to film, basically, yeah.
You feel are you excited? Are you glad that you're kind of over the hump and...
Yeah. I mean, it's great when we're filming. Every time people ask me questions about it, I start to get nervous again.
It's when you have time to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're in it, it's all good.
Well, we're excited to see it. I was really excited to hear that you were doing it. And I'm excited that you're so busy. Selfishly, it seems like I was listening to all the things that you have going on, and I'm like, this is great, because it feels like for a while you didn't have a lot happening.
Well, I had
like,
the
where
kids.
is she?
Yeah.
Like, where is she?
Well, I was still there, but I think maybe my movies weren't I don't know. They were. I did have breaks though. I did. I mean, with the kids, being little and being born.
And totally fine. But I'm excited now.
Thank you.
And I know you have that film with Werner Herzog that you haven't shot yet.
Correct.
But you signed on, and you're playing Gertrude Bell.
Yeah.
Another historical.
All things going well, that will happen. Definitely an epic story with, always looking for interesting women.
And he must be amazing to work with.
Well, I don't know yet because I haven't worked, but I'm told.
I
and
imagine.
Obviously great filmmaker.
You've worked with some phenomenal directors so far.
I've been lucky.
You've had a great lineup. So, when I watch his films, I'm always surprised at how they're all so different, and so him. Yeah. There's something about it. So
no, he's brilliant.
That'll be.
I can't wait to get on the set with him.
And what else do you have coming up?
I filmed in Australia earlier this year a film called Two Mothers with Robin Wright.
How's that?
I haven't seen it yet.
How was the
experience? Oh, it's a great experience.
Yeah,
Anne Fontaine directed it. That's a controversial subject.
Two mothers who fall in love with each other's sons. Is that right?
How did you know? Did you just?
I'm a nerd.
You got the plot when you heard Two Mothers.
Whenever we hear news about this stuff,
Yeah.
Not everything, but the stuff that really piques my interest. And with female directors, I'm also really interested in knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And want to support them in whatever way I can. And you have another one coming out.
Oh, Sunlight Junior.
That one.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny film I made with Laurie Collier, female director also, and Matt Dillon is in it, and about two people living on the poverty line. Why is that hard to say? It's a very tiny film.
Heavy drama.
Yeah.
You like the heavy drama stuff, which is good, I think.
I don't know. It's not like I just have that taste. It's just I think it's harder to find.
Well, it's bold. I feel it's not just heavy drama. It's like
it's just stories that are worth telling. I think.
Like I think Mulholland Drive is like such a iconic film now, and it probably took a lot of guts to read that role and be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Not everyone would do that, I don't think. Not everyone could pull that off.
Oh, thank you.
Do you look back on that experience and think, what do you think about
I mean, that experience changed my life. There's no question. Being in a film where I got to play these two diametrically opposed roles. Some people don't get that in one career.
Right.
David Lynch gave me this incredible opportunity, and all great filmmakers see his films. So then that's when the phone started ringing, and as you said, I've got to work with great directors because I think they are connected to that film to this day.
Does that rank as one of your favorites?
Probably, yeah.
What else comes
21 Grams? That was a big one. Yeah, loved that. And then, being sandwiched between Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro, that wasn't too bad.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Just great talent all round. King Kong was fantastic. Just fantasy movie and epic, and and even like Painted Veil. I loved that movie because it was a life adventure going to China and everything.
Ellie Parker, which was a while ago. I can't remember what year it was from, but how closely to your experience, like before Mulholland Drive, changed your life?
There was so much of my life in that, but embellished. And totally making fun of it. But beats in it that were truthful, which was driving from one end of town to the other, changing clothes in the car, getting knocked back in auditions constantly, being told by your agent that you're too intense and you're not going to get hired, and all things like that were all based on my life and the director's life, who was also an ex-actor, and he was the scriptwriter. So we sort of merged our two experiences together, but of course, for dramatic effect and comedic effect, embellished them.
Have you watched that film recently and just thought, like, wow, how things have changed?
I haven't seen it in a long time, no, but it was great. It was really cathartic to make that, I have to say, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with everything.